Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to the new channel, 3D Sports. This channel will be covering mainly NBA and NFL topics, but not in the form of hot takes. There will be some of that, but mostly I want to discuss sports topics that were brought up in the mainstream through a three-dimensional point of view, hopefully to spark another level of conversation outside of the black and white, the I'm for and you're against debates. At first, I'm going to keep the video short and simple. And as the audience grows, I'll definitely be looking at different formats, increasing the production value, having guests and all that. So I'm excited. Starting something new, not expecting anything major viewership-wise off the bat, but we're going to give it a shot and see what's up. And we're going to start off with a short episode 1 of the 3D Sports channel. I'm going to title this one, The Crippling of Shedeur Sanders, as y'all see the jersey. All right. So there's a great scene in a classic movie named Remember the Titans, starring my man Denzel Washington. He's playing a football coach out in Virginia, during those times. So we can all imagine the challenges that were presented to him at that time, but that's not what this video is about. The scene I'm referencing, though, is a scene where Denzel's character, Coach Boone, is in the office with his assistant, Coach Yost, played by the great Will Patton. Coach Boone is upset with Coach Yost's handling of certain players, coddling them and, just bringing them to the side after Coach Boone disciplines them. Coach Boone sees it as it's undermining his authority, which he's correct. But Coach Yost's reasoning behind it is that, his method of not embarrassing the players in public, but telling them what they need to hear is the best way to get them to respond. Coach Boone then questions Yost directly by asking him, "What boys are you talking about?" And Coach Boone goes on referencing the white players that he gets on during practice and asks Yost, why doesn't he pull them to the side and comfort them? And Coach Boone kind of ends his speech going on to tell Coach Yost that his patronization of the black players that he thinks is helping them is actually crippling them for life. That's how the scene ends, with that quote. And as Coach Boone is berating Yost this whole time, and as he's getting to the end of his speech, Coach Yost kind of sits back with this look on his face. And as a kid, I used to watch the movie and I kind of perceived it as disrespect, or he was kind of looking at Denzel as an uppity, like, who are you to be coming at me like this? But as I watch it now as a man, what I see in Coach Yost's face as he sits back is respect. Because if you watch in the beginning of that scene, Coach Boone starts by referencing one of the players named Petey, and he's going to ask Coach about him, and Coach Yost just cuts him off and says, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. You can thank me later," or something like that. And Coach Boone hits him with, like, "I wasn't going to thank you." Then he goes on with his speech about, coddling these players and crippling them. So, when Boone hit him with that speech, I don't think Yost could really believe what he was hearing, because up to that point, his character at that time in Virginia would have been programmed to really think that every black man or kid he came across not only wanted, but needed his sympathy. And I think he came to a realization during that speech that, Coach Boone and these kids were here to work for everything just like he is. They didn't need any handouts or any special treatment to make it to where they ultimately were going to be. And, I was watching this the other day and I thought about Shedeur. I thought about a lot of the stuff that I see online about everybody just rushing to conclusions about him getting sabotaged, not getting enough reps. The Cleveland front office wants to see him fail. Everybody wants to see him fail. And, as a fan of football, and as a Shedeur, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, as you can see the jersey, and I'm from Colorado. So I have that weird connection. But the best thing about Shedeur, and one of the things I just respect him and I love watching him, is that he takes accountability. He holds himself accountable, and he truly wants to be great. And I don't think he wants anything handed to him just because he's a Sanders or just because he did what he did in college. I think he was expecting a certain level of that, but it's not needed. And it's definitely not needed by the fans, to play the proverbial Coach Yost in Shedeur's story. Shedeur doesn't need to be coddled. He doesn't need to have his hand taken. He doesn't need all your heartwarming Twitters, telling him it's going to be okay and all that. It is going to be okay because Shedeur's going to make it okay. Because he's going to work and he's going to learn what he has to learn. And he's going to earn that starting job. It's going to happen. This is just how Shedeur gets down. This is how the Sanders get down. They have all worked for what they've gotten in life. I know people see that what happened with Shedeur and Travis and Shiloh up at CU as, Deion's form of coddling, but, we'll save that for another day. But that's going to be the main gist of this first episode. I would just like the Shedeur fans that do see this video to think about that. To think about the fact that you're not exactly helping Shedeur or any of these young boys that you think like him or that are getting held back or not getting the chance that they supposedly deserve. You're not helping them by coddling them. You're not helping them by telling them, yeah, this is what the white man wants to keep from you and you got to do everything twice as hard as this. You're not helping them. The way to help these kids is to tell them to keep staying positive, to keep working, to always see whatever the endeavor they are in as a total continuous learning experience, and to not expect anybody to give them anything. That is the way to success. Let me say this last thing before I end this video. Michael Jordan is such a hot topic. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and everybody wants to know what the difference is between Jordan and LeBron and why people love Jordan still after 35 years he's not playing and people are hating on LeBron, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's a hate thing. I think it's a respect thing. And the simple fact is Jordan has earned his fans' respect. That's why fans that were fans of Jordan in 98, 92, 2000, 85, 86 are still fans today. Because Jordan earned that respect. And he took that respect serious enough to not do anything to tarnish that his whole career. And that's the difference. Jordan earned his fans' respect. LeBron has earned a level of respect for sure. LeBron has accomplished a major amount in the NBA. LeBron deserves respect. But he wants that. LeBron wants your respect. Jordan was the type of guy who's like, I'm going to go out and what I do is going to be so undeniable, you will respect me. Because this is how men get respect. You've respected all the other men that have accomplished things that I'm about to accomplish, so of course you're going to respect me. And he took it that way, and that's how it all played out. When you try to manufacture respect, by making yourself the victim, by, playing your own Coach Yost in your life, comforting yourself, patting yourself on the back after you have a hard day and all that stuff, instead of getting better, instead of learning from your mistakes, instead of looking at yourself in the mirror and figuring out what you need to do to get to that next level. That's the way Sanders made it to the NFL. Shedeur didn't make it to the NFL because Deion took him to CU and streamlined everything for him. No. What Deion was going to do for him, Travis and Shiloh, was going to guarantee that they get a chance. That's why he did what he did at Colorado. Well, at least one of the reasons. He wanted to make sure his boy and his might as well be other son, Travis Hunter, had a complete, total chance to fulfill their dreams and make it to the NFL, which they did. Now that they are there, it is grown man time. Shedeur is not scared of Dillon Gabriel. I promise you that. And more power to Dillon Gabriel. I like that kid. Shedeur is going to beat him out. But he's going to do it the right way. He's going to learn. He's going to get better. And to be honest, I think once we come next year to that training camp, Shedeur won't even be recognizable to some of you fans. He's always going to be Shedeur to me. His personality ain't going to change, but I think that look in his eye next year in training camp is going to be different. It's going to be unrecognizable. And it's going to be because of this challenge that was placed before him by this Cleveland Browns organization, by Kevin Stefanski and by Andrew Berry. They know what Shedeur is capable of. They understand the pedigree that this man has. You know, he sprang from NFL royalty. And no, Shiloh and Shedeur are not their dad. Like, Deion Sanders was another level. He's an NFL legend, a legendary athlete. Shedeur, Travis especially, but Shedeur is going to go out there and work for everything that he is going to get in his NFL career, and that's okay. You know, you guys think he's a diamond, right? The true fans, the true Shedeur fans, the 12s, throw up the watches, those guys, you think Shedeur's a diamond, right? Well, what's that quote that we've all heard our whole lives about diamonds? How are diamonds made? Do you massage coal and it turns into a diamond? Or do you put it under the hottest, heaviest amount of pressure that you can, so that what's inside of that coal can be brought out and shine the way that it was supposed to be? I want you guys to think about that. And if you haven't seen the movie Remember the Titans starring Denzel Washington and Will Patton, please do your favor and go see it. It's a great movie. Shout out to Shedeur. Shout out to Travis. Thank you all for watching. I'll be soon back with episode 2. 3D Sports, y'all. Peace.